Hello, hello, hello. Happy last Friday of the month. January has come and gone. I hope that you all have been having a wonderful time. If you are not familiar with who I am, hello, I'm Keisha. I'm the CEO of Explore Maryland Cannabis, and this is our January live monthly podcast. So, let me get you familiar with some of the things that we do around here. It's a new year, new things, got some new things going. Our monthly live podcast goes over a few things. Doesn't take more than 30 minutes, but it gets you up to date and catches you up on what you already know or what you may have missed in Maryland cannabis this past month or over the last 30 days. So what I'm bringing to you are the headlines, the updates, what some of the great things my organization has done, and what we have planned for February. So I've got my drink of choice over here that I will be sipping, make sure that my throat is just as clear as it should be. But I'm excited to be here. So it's the top of the year. Happy New Year for those who I have not seen at our events this year. It has been. It has been, y'all. How y'all doing? I know that today in Maryland, it is at least 22 degrees. It is cold, it is windy. They said that snow was coming. I feel it. You know, sometimes when the weather changes, you can actually like feel it in your bones. You can smell it in the air, kind of like rain, you know. But I don't smell the snow just yet. So I'm not quite sure if it's really coming or not. So let me pull up my handy dandy notes so that I am on par with you. If you are watching live, hello. If you happen to be watching live, thank you so much. I'm using an amazing platform called StreamYard, which allows me to place your comments, your questions, your interactiveness up on the screen as we go along. And just feel free to add a bit to the conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and take a sip of my drink without further ado, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. So just a bit about Explore Maryland Cannabis. If you aren't familiar with our organization, Explore Maryland Cannabis is a community membership organization and community membership and outreach organization. Our mission is to build and inform cannabis community in Maryland, all 23 counties plus Baltimore City. How do we plan to do that? Let me tell you, we do provide a safe community for all to talk about cannabis, to talk about legalization, legislation, how to use products, also how to get promoted in this industry. We help industry professionals level up their skill set, shore up their skill set a bit. And we also help our small business community get acclimated and understand what exactly is happening in our industry as it relates to rules and regulations. So those are our three communities that we serve. Our membership is $10 a month, $9.99 when you sign up through the app. And you can find more about that at exploremarylandcannabis.com/membership. Now, I've got our housekeeping out the way. Let's talk a little bit about how January went for Maryland Cannabis. So I have some headlines here that I'll be pulling up. First things first, let's talk a little bit about our industry workers. So around mid-month, our industry workers were able to get the same COVID-19. It was declared because cannabis is essential. It was declared that our medical cannabis industry professionals, our frontline workers, were able to obtain the COVID-19 vaccine. So one of the great things that the commission did very early in the COVID pandemic was to establish that cannabis was essential. It allowed individuals who own dispensaries to stay open when ordinances were closing our businesses. It also allowed dispensaries, excuse me, it also allowed dispensaries in other sectors of our industry to still operate, whether it be through curbside delivery, whether it be through actual delivery, whether it be our processors and our growers being able to keep their operations moving and providing that medicine. And, cannabis had a really big boom, as you'll see in some of the other two headlines. Our main theme around January was to kind of reestablish cannabis as an essential part of our community, whether it be through medicine being administered, whether it be through access of individuals being able to get into the market, or regulations and laws that kind of shape what our ecosystem looks like. So this is a really great article. If you are not signed up for our newsletter, what is you doing, baby? Come on over. We send weekly and monthly recaps as to what is going on in our industry. I just want to make sure, I am on the 2 platforms. We had to axe our last Facebook page, whole thing. It was a whole thing. But we are currently streaming live to our new Facebook page and our YouTube channel. And I'm just so excited to be here. So that is our first headline. Cannabis COVID-19. Cannabis workers have the ability to get the COVID-19 vaccine as they should. They are essential. Go ahead and clap it up for our essential workers. And there's more to come with that. The next headline that I have for you is, once again, how we talk about essential cannabis is. So this is an article that was published in the Kent County News today, actually. But a couple of days ago, this appeared on my feed, and Sunburst Farm is a dispensary in Cambridge, so across the bridge. Haven't gotten an opportunity to go there. So Sunburst Farm, if you're watching, I will be there soon as the weather breaks. April, I have an entire campaign set up for finishing out the rest of our 88 operating dispensaries and visiting all throughout the state. So anyway, more are turning to medical marijuana during the pandemic, right? So this is a really great story that was presented in a paper that is on the Eastern Shore, where the Eastern Shore does not get a lot of love, y'all, when it comes to new products, when it comes to the education going down and getting down across the Bay Bridge, even into Western Maryland. But we're talking about the Eastern Shore right now. And so one of the things that I love to see is when there is a little bit of an awareness of what's going on. So this article absolutely tells us exactly what we already know. Our Maryland market, the estimated revenue and profits of last year, doubled expectations. Applications have just been, double and tripling. At one point, I remember the MMCC had to hire additional call center employees because there was just crazy amounts of delays in applications going through the MMCC. So this article just talks a little bit about that culture and how that affected the patients at Sunburst Farm. I think it was a really great article. There are some quotes from different individuals, but at the end of the day, I think it's a really great read. So what I'm going to do is make sure that it is in the live chat everywhere, so you can read more about that. This isn't behind a paywall, so you're able to read it at your heart's content. So shout out to Sunburst Farm, Kent County News for this particular article, and I'm sure there's more to come as we see how individuals use medical marijuana or medical cannabis during this pandemic and even after, that. So let me share our next article. I hope y'all are doing well. I can feel the cold on my feet. It's so cold. The last article that I have for you today is right on time with what we are. It's right on time with what we are experiencing in Maryland, and it is the 442nd legislative session that is happening here in Maryland. Shout out to Morgan, who is always breaking the news here in the Maryland medical cannabis industry. This is directly from the Baltimore Business Journal. I love the reporting from the Baltimore Business Journal. But this particular article gives us an overview of the biggest heavy hitter that we have to talk about when it comes to our legislative session, and that is House Bill 32. Hold that thought hold that quote, hold that note, because we'll talk more about House Bill 32 when it comes to the latest in the MMCC's commission meetings. But House Bill 32, I'll talk a little bit about it later, but it was introduced by Delegate Jazz Lewis out of gorgeous Prince George's. And this is basically a fully realized legalization bill with gearing towards adult use. So we're not saying recreational, y'all. It's 2021. Cannabis, all cannabis use is medicinal, full stop. But you have to understand how important your words are when you're talking about it. So from this point on, we will no longer say recreational. We will say adult use, because that is what the effort is pushing. And so in this article, there was actually a press conference earlier this week or last week where Delegate Lewis and a couple of other players in the industry were able to kind of introduce this bill and what it looks like when it passes. So let me just give y'all a bigger update on this. So House Bill 32 is the latest of the yearly attempts. Shout out to David Moon, Delegate David Moon, for putting in legislation, and shout out to Delegate Jazz Lewis for picking up the legislation and pushing it forward this session. So this bill would expand on our 2012 legalization of medical cannabis in Maryland. So it'll move adult use to being legal for Marylanders 21 and older to possess up to 2 ounces of cannabis for personal, recreational, adult use. This bill also sets parameters for legal amounts of cannabis concentrates and other THC-infused products for adult use. If passed, Maryland would join 15 other states, including the District of Columbia, in legalizing marijuana for adult use. So this particular bill also has some social equity, racial reparation provisions inside of the bill, and I encourage you to take a look at what more is to come with this particular legislation. But shout out to Morgan once again. That was really great reporting, because if you've ever been on the Maryland General Assembly website and you're actually looking at legalization, if you're actually looking at legislation, you'll see there are pages and pages of jargon that you may not quite understand. So it is important for our stakeholders, our journalists, individuals who are covering this ecosystem to keep the language in layman's terms that allows access to be fully realized amongst our counties, our cities, and our state. So that is the end of our headlines. I really was proud of Maryland Cannabis because there were a lot of great feats. Shout out to SunMed for expanding their grow facility. Shout out to Culta for a official headquarters move to Bethesda. And of course, many of other congratulations and celebrations as those who are, celebrating their anniversaries, they're celebrating their openings, celebrating new hires. Shouts out to y'all. So next up on the docket is our MMCC meeting. So I'm just going to pull up the MMCC's website really quickly while I go over this here. Beautiful, beautiful redesign. There's a little bit of quirks sometimes, but I'm checking my time and making sure that I'm right on time. And guess what? I am right on time. So the Maryland Cannabis Commission's website, if you scroll down and see what's happening, you can also see when they meet. So currently, the commission has 3 scheduled meetings for this year thus far. The first meeting of the year was yesterday. And boy, oh boy, if you don't attend these meetings on a regular basis, you would think that all they do is talk about legislation and rules and regulations, and they're approving things. But that's exactly what it is. It's giving you a bit of an overview of what's moving and shaking, what's happening, some laws, bulletins, bit of awareness, all of that. So yesterday's meeting, I'm going to pull up the agenda. Hopefully it will pop up here. But while I'm talking about it, there was not much I want to say to take away from yesterday's meeting. It was the first meeting of the year. They were able to kind of knock certain things out into play. There weren't many committee reports outside of the final review subcommittee. And what they did was they voted on clinical directors. And if you're not familiar, last year, bulletin regulations were made. They were put in place to establish clinical directors, who are individuals who are available via telehealth or on-site to talk about all concerns, whether it's using cannabis with other drugs, or how to use it in general. Having a person that is available during operating hours was something that was established. So they voted on about 7 or 8 different clinical directors and transfers of ownership and control. Nothing exciting there, just some shifts and moves. But what I will say, that was very interesting to walk into was during the legislative and regulatory update. Shout out to Taylor at the MMCC. She did a really great job breaking down that conversation, because it did get heated at one point when they started to talk about House Bill 32. So I talked a bit about House Bill 32 earlier that was introduced, and the main concern was, what stance would the MMCC take as it relates to House Bill 32? So there was a little bit of conversation around that. They decided to table that for a later discussion, but it will be very interesting to see what they have planned or what stance they're going to take as it relates to how it affects our overall ecosystem. So that was the meeting. If you weren't there, you didn't miss much. There's a bit of a recap if you need it. Of course, we'll be here every month giving you that update. The next commission meeting is February 25th at 2 o'clock, and you can sign up for that on the commission's website. Just a bit about what we have been up to this year in the last 28 days or 29 days. Earlier this month, we did a webinar on game planning your cannabis career in 2021. And let me see if I can pull up the next, that's the commission, the next, what we have planned for next month. While I look for that, I am going to say it was really, really well attended. I was very excited to get the feedback that was needed for pushing educational programs like this moving forward. So let me pull these 2 documents up here. In addition to the webinar, let me just open that. In addition to the webinar, we also had our Canna Trivia, which we kind of had. So what we'll be doing over the next couple of months is hosting a cannabis trivia or some sort of game night free to our community through April. So if you're looking for some ways to stay social, you're looking for some ways to connect with individuals, be sure to show up for our Canna game night trivia. We call it the Got 5 on It series. Be sure to show up. We'd love to have you. Prizes, rewards, and everything like that. This month, we also interviewed CK Dunson of Bouquet Rolling Papers. I talked a little bit about them in the last live podcast or episode connection communication that we had, and really great interview. If you haven't had the opportunity to listen to that. Our members also get access to the long form video. So once you become a member, you can also get a little bit of more of what me and CK talked about and what the plan is for 2021 in that business. So that's what we have coming up. Looking at the time, it's 19 minutes. I'm going to bring you all home with our upcoming events. So super, super duper, duper excited to talk a bit about Maryland Normal. Maryland Normal has a slew of events coming up, but the one that I want you all to pay attention to right now is the Maryland Cannabis Policy Conference. So this is their second year, maybe third year doing it, second or third year doing this conference. And it's basically an overview of what policy looks like in Maryland. I'll give you a quick glimpse of what this draft agenda looks like here. So there's different panels, there's a break, there's also a VIP green room reception that you don't want to miss out on. This event is February 6th, so it's prior to the actual Maryland Normal Lobby Day, which I've been honored to participate in the last few years. It's nothing like talking to your legislators during legislative session about bills that you care about, because they want to hear from you. You voted them in, your Mima voted them in. They probably have a legislative career that they want to attain to. So it's nice for them to hear from the people. So that's Lobby Day. Be sure to check out Maryland Normal's website for that. But registration is still open. It is free for the Maryland Cannabis Policy Conference. And I'm just going to go ahead and do a bit of a shameless plug. Let me pull that up there. Here you go. Here's the donations that they are looking for the VIP green room. Be sure to check that out. You can also just show up to the conference for free. But here is what I'm excited about. I am a moderator for this policy conference, and I have the distinct honor of moderating the panel with Taylor from the MMCC. So I look forward to talking about all of the things. More specifically, I'm really looking forward to talking about what the medical cannabis program looks like, past, present, and future. So I will be moderating panel 3. This is a full day of learning about what Maryland cannabis policy looks like from a virtual environment. Let me stop looking at myself. But be sure to tune in. Be sure to register. I look forward to seeing y'all faces there. Go ahead and let folks know where you found this information as well, because it's important. So that is the information about the policy conference. Let me drop that link here. Boom, boom. Hello. Shout out to Michael. Never misses a podcast live. I'm just always thankful for your support. I'm coming up on the last 8 minutes of this, but I want to make sure that you all get this information. So we've got a full month with Explore Maryland Cannabis as it relates to February. February is what? 2 to 3 days away. So we will be focusing on Black History Month. February is Black History Month, and we will be spotlighting Black individuals who are movers and shakers in the Maryland medical cannabis program. So whether they are a dispensary owner, whether they are patients, whether they are providers, whether they're in government, industry, we will be spotlighting them in our newsletter, on social media, on this particular show here. Just super excited to have that spotlight throughout the month. And of course, during Love Week, we'll be talking a little bit about intimacy in cannabis. That actually, just to give y'all a hard date, that's the 9th through the 15th. We'll be talking all about love. But in between that time, we'll be talking about the war on drugs. We'll be talking about being Black in cannabis. We'll be talking about how our organization is going to position ourselves to help Black and brown folks get into the pipeline as it relates to cannabis. Could always use y'all helps though. So allies, individuals who are not people of color, be able to elevate the voices of those who don't have the key to get in certain rooms is important. So we welcome your support. Our membership meeting is the 3rd Tuesday of every month. It is February 16th. We look forward to seeing you live in the portal. Community conversations. This month we talked about how to advocate for yourself. This month in February 19th, is the call for home grow. So we'll be talking about the importance of home grow. We'll be talking about patients' rights to grow, what that looks like as we move into a full, actual adult, realized and adult use market. And as I mentioned before, our Got 5 on It series is happening February 23rd. I look forward to seeing you there. Michael, I did see your email, so I will be sending you some things over. Looking forward to seeing you at all of the things in February. I'm going to wrap this up a bit early because I want you all to not necessarily get out into the 16-degree weather, but I want you to be able to receive this information and take it out throughout your day. So thank you so much for joining this live monthly podcast. I love this format, and I'm looking forward to building it out as the months go along. Soon and very soon, I will have a new team member who will be able to help facilitate these things, and I know that they're watching. Because of course they're watching. So shout out to y'all. I'll see you all February 26th for our next live podcast, and all of the other things that are happening in our ecosystem. Be well, stay warm, stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, wash your rice. I'll see y'all later. Peace.